Off for a hug. He just started packing my things into cardboard boxes. My mom coldly looked me in the eye and said, "Your sister needs this house more than you do now." To make matters worse, my golden child sister actually shouted, "Well, who's going to pay off my luxury car loan now?" They treated me like an expired paycheck, tossing me out into the pouring rain without a shred of remorse. They thought they were stripping me of everything, leaving me utterly ruined. What they didn't realize was that I had been keeping a massive secret from them for over 3 years. I said absolutely nothing about the massive corporate entity registered completely under my name, or the fact that I was the anonymous owner of the luxury beach house they were currently vacationing in. Hours later, the real nightmare began for them. My name is Jacqueline Mills, and I am 27 years old. For the past 5 years, I lived under the crushing assumption that family always comes first. I worked 80-hour weeks as a senior corporate executive, sacrificing my sleep, my social life, and my youth to ensure my parents and sister lived in absolute comfort. Every single luxury they enjoyed was paid for by my sweat. But the universe has a brutal way of correcting your illusions. It was a rainy Tuesday evening when a sudden, ruthless corporate restructuring left my entire department eliminated. I walked out of my office building with a single box of personal belongings and a numb heart, driving home in desperate need of a safe haven. I expected a comforting hot meal, perhaps a reassuring word from my father telling me everything would be fine. Instead, I walked into an absolute nightmare. The front door was wide open, and my dad, Thomas, was standing in the hallway, aggressively throwing my winter coats into taped-up cardboard boxes. My mother, Sarah, didn't even look up from her tablet as she coldly muttered that my layout had already changed their plans. My sister Lana stood behind them, a smug smirk plastered across her face. "Since you don't have that big executive salary anymore, Jacqueline, you can't afford the lease on this place anyway," Thomas grunted, taping another box shut without a hint of warmth in his eyes. "Your sister needs a proper place to build her social media brand, and your mother and I have decided she is taking over the house. You have until midnight to clear out." I stood frozen, realizing in a single flash of clarity that I was never a daughter to them. I was just a walking aid. They didn't care that I was drowning in shock. They only cared that my utility had expired. Clutching my car keys tight, I swallowed the lump in my throat and refused to shed a single tear in front of them. They wanted me gone? Fine. They thought they were abandoning a helpless, broken girl in the rain. They had absolutely no idea who they were actually crossing. I quietly walked out into the downpour, leaving them to their stolen prize. Driving away from the only home I knew, the sound of the rain drumming against my windshield matched the furious beating of my heart. I pulled into a secluded corner of a nearby parking lot, the neon dashboard lights reflecting off the tears I had finally allowed myself to shed. But sadness quickly hardened into absolute disgust as my mind replayed the utter selfishness of my family, particularly my younger sister, Lana. Lana had always been the undisputed golden child of the household. While I was pulling all-nighters at the university library and working entry-level grinds, Lana was spending her days shopping, networking at high-end clubs, and chasing the superficial dream of becoming an elite social media influencer. My parents fiercely protected her from any form of real-world responsibility. When she demanded a luxury sports car to match her curated online aesthetic, it wasn't mom and dad who signed the paperwork. It was me. I had foolishly used my hard-earned corporate bonuses to fund her lifestyle, paying off her expensive monthly car loans just to keep the peace. My phone suddenly buzzed violently in the cup holder. It was a barrage of text messages from Lana, followed closely by demands from my mother. "Who is going to cover my premium insurance this Friday, Jacqueline?" One message read. "You can't just stop paying for my car just because you had a bad day at work." Sarah's follow-up text was even more chilling. "Jacqueline, do not be petty. Your sister's career depends on her image. You need to fulfill your obligations to this family, regardless of your employment status." They truly believed I owed them my life. They viewed my sudden professional crisis not as a tragedy to comfort, but as an annoying inconvenience to their comfort. A cold, unyielding wave of clarity washed over me. The girl who quietly tolerated their manipulation was officially dead. With a steady hand, I opened my banking application, permanently revoked the automated recurring payments for Lana's luxury car loan, and blocked all three of their phone numbers. I shifted the car into drive, wiped my face, and navigated toward the highway. I was heading straight toward the coast, to a pristine, multi-million-dollar property they didn't even know existed. The long, dark drive down to the coast gave me plenty of time to review the digital empire I had spent years meticulously building in the shadows. My family genuinely believed that my entire existence was tied to that corporate executive job. They thought that losing it meant I was completely destitute. What their narrow, greedy minds didn't realize was that my corporate job was merely a strategic front. For the past 3 years, I had been operating a highly profitable private consulting firm and tech software company. To protect my assets from my parasitic family, I had registered the entire enterprise under a strictly anonymous, but to the rest of the world, the owner was just a faceless legal entity. Through this secret holding company, I had recently purchased a breathtaking, multi-million-dollar luxury beach house right on the coast of Carmel. It was meant to be a high-end investment property, rented out exclusively to wealthy vacationers through a premium, invite-only hospitality app. As I pulled over at a rest stop just 20 miles outside of Carmel, my phone chimed with a high-priority notification. It was an automated alert from my luxury property management portal. I tapped the screen, and my jaw dropped as I read the incoming data. The portal displayed a furious, high-demanding complaint from the current VIP tenants occupying my beach house. I scrolled down to check the names on the rental agreement. It was my parents and my sister Lana. Through a bizarre twist of fate, they had used a portion of the allowance money I had given them last month to book a lavish, 4-week coastal getaway. They were currently sleeping under my roof, drinking wine on my terrace, and using my high-end amenities, completely unaware that the anonymous corporate landlord they were treating like dirt online was the very same daughter they had thrown out into the rain just hours ago. According to the log, Lana was demanding a full refund and free luxury upgrades because the private concierge hadn't responded to her late-night requests fast enough. She had even threatened to leave a devastating review that would ruin the property's pristine rating. I stared at the screen, a slow, dangerous smile finally breaking across my face. They wanted to play high-stakes corporate games with an anonymous landlord? I was more than happy to oblige. I put my car back into gear and drove straight toward my property. The morning sun was just piercing through the coastal fog when I pulled my car onto the quiet, cypress-lined avenue where my beach house stood. The property was a masterpiece of modern architecture. All clean lines, massive glass panes, and sweeping views of the Pacific Ocean. As I parked a few houses down and walked up the cobblestone driveway, my stomach tightened. There, parked right in front of my garage, was Lana's luxury sports car, gleaming under the coastal morning dew. I quietly walked up the wooden steps leading to the main wraparound deck. Through the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, I could see Sarah and Thomas sitting at the marble kitchen island, leisurely sipping expensive coffee that I had stocked in the pantry. Out on the sun deck, Lana was lounging on a designer daybed, wrapped in one of my premium monogrammed bathrobes, frantically typing on her phone. She looked up as my shadow fell across the deck, her eyes widening in a mixture of shock and instant annoyance. "Jacqueline!" Lana shrieked, slamming her phone down and standing up. "What on earth are you doing here? Did you seriously follow us all the way to Carmel?" Hearing the commotion, the glass sliding doors flew open, and my parents stepped out onto the deck. Thomas's face twisted into a scowl, his arms tightly crossed over his chest. "How did you even find us, Jacqueline?" he demanded, his voice dripping with pure condescension. "If you drove all the way down here to beg us for your old room back, or to whine about your job, you can forget it. A jobless failure has no right to crash an exclusive family vacation. You don't belong in a neighborhood like this." Sarah nodded coldly in agreement, adjusting her sunglasses. "We told you last night, Jacqueline. You need to sort out your own mess. Stop acting like a desperate stalker. Leave before we have the estate security remove you." I stood perfectly still, letting their venom wash right over me. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. Instead, I pulled out a sleek digital tablet from my bag, opened my official property management credentials, and looked at them with the detached, professional calm of a high-ranking corporate executioner. "I am not here as your daughter," I said, my voice smooth and ice-cold. "I am here on behalf of the anonymous corporate holding group that owns this multi-million-dollar estate. As of this exact moment, you are standing on private commercial property, and you are currently in severe violation of your luxury rental agreement." Thomas let out a booming, arrogant laugh, completely dismissing my words. "Are you losing your mind, Jacqueline? You don't work for this luxury rental company. You don't even have a job." He pulled out his own phone, tapping the screen aggressively. "I am going to message the property owner right now and ensure you get arrested for trespassing on our vacation." "Go ahead," I replied, standing my ground as my tablet synced directly to the main security hub of the estate. "But while you type that message, let me walk you through the precise legal violations you have committed over the past 48 hours. I tapped my screen, activating the strict digital audit portal of the holding company. According to the legally binding contract your attorney reviewed, this exclusive property has a strict maximum occupancy limit of 3 registered guests. Yet, according to my external security cameras, Lana sneaked in 4 of her influencer friends late last night to host an unapproved, loud party." Lana's face turned instantly pale as I swiped to the next page of the report. "Furthermore," I continued, my voice carrying the weight of an absolute corporate executioner, "those unregistered guests managed to severely scratch and damage the custom imported teakwood on the outdoor sun deck while moving heavy filming equipment. Under Section 9 of your digital rental agreement, property damage and unauthorized commercial filming automatically trigger an immediate, non-refundable termination of the entire lease." Sarah stepped forward, her voice shaking with a mixture of anger and rising panic. "You can't do this, Jacqueline. We paid thousands of dollars for this month-long reservation. They cannot just kick us out over a few minor scratches." "The holding company absolutely can," I said, hitting the final confirmation button on my tablet. "I have just officially submitted the evidence to our legal department. A formal, non-refundable emergency eviction notice has just been dispatched to your primary email address. You have exactly 2 hours to pack your bags and vacate this beach house completely." Right on cue, all 3 of their phones chimed simultaneously with a high-priority legal alert. I watched from the edge of the deck as pure, unadulterated chaos erupted among them. My parents frantically stared at their screens, realizing they were being cast out into the street with zero financial recourse, and they didn't have enough liquid funds to book a single night anywhere else in Carmel. 2 weeks later, the final corporate arbitration hearing was convened at a prestigious legal office in downtown Sacramento. My parents, utterly desperate to salvage their pride and avoid the massive property damage fees, had brought in a high-priced local attorney to aggressively dispute the holding company's claims. Lana sat beside them, looking thoroughly exhausted, her usual smug demeanor replaced by a look of sheer desperation. As they huddled with their legal representative at one side of the polished mahogany table, I could see them whispering and smiling triumphantly. They genuinely believed that a corporate arbitration panel would favor wealthy consumers over a faceless, anonymous landlord. They thought they were going to easily bully the holding company into returning their money. Their triumphant smiles instantly vanished when the heavy glass doors swung open, and I calmly walked into the conference room alongside Robert Vance, my chief legal counsel. Thomas's mouth fell open in absolute shock. "Jacqueline?" my mother gasped, standing up so fast her chair screeched against the floor. "What is the meaning of this? You don't belong here. This is a highly confidential legal dispute." I didn't say a single word. I simply walked over to the head of the table, pulled out the high-backed executive chair, and sat down calmly, folding my hands over a thick manila folder. Their expensive attorney scrolled through his notes, sliding a stack of registry documents across the table. "Mr. Vance, my clients are prepared to sue your anonymous entity for malicious eviction unless a full settlement is reached immediately. We demand to speak directly with them." Robert Vance let out a dry, clinical chuckle and gestured toward me. "Then you are already looking at her. Jacqueline Mills is the sole founder, operator, and absolute owner of the holding group, the multi-million-dollar beach house, and every single corporate asset involved in this dispute. The family's lawyer turned completely pale as he hurriedly reviewed the official corporate registry papers in the folder. His hands began to shake violently. He slowly turned toward my stunned parents, his voice dropping to a terrified whisper. "She isn't just a representative. She owns the entire empire. We have no legal standing here." I stared across the table at the broken remnants of my family. Thomas slumped back into his chair, his eyes wide with a mixture of terror and sudden realization. Sarah buried her face in her hands, while Lana looked at me as if she were seeing a ghost. I didn't offer a single shred of mercy. I instructed Robert Vance to enforce the absolute maximum penalty for the property damage and contract violations. Because they couldn't afford to pay the hefty legal fees and repair bills out of pocket, a judge ordered a freeze on their remaining liquid assets. Lana's precious luxury sports car, the one I had spent years helping her fund, was swiftly repossessed by the bank to cover the outstanding debts. My parents were forced to downsize drastically, moving into a tiny, cramped apartment far away from the elite social circles they loved so much. Meanwhile, I officially took back my life. I moved permanently into my gorgeous Carmel Beach house, waking up every single morning to the peaceful sound of the ocean waves crashing against the shore. I was finally surrounded by true peace, free from the toxic, parasitic family that had treated me like nothing more than an expired paycheck. What would you have done if your own blood turned their backs on you the moment you fell? Would you have kept the secret or exposed them much sooner? See how far my story has reached. Don't forget to